Everybody knows how to prepare their body for a big game, but almost nobody knows how to prepare their mind. And that's a problem because no matter how hard you've trained, if you walk into a game nervous, overthinking, and doubting yourself, you're probably not going to play at the level you're capable of. And that's why some of the greatest athletes in the world, from Michael Phelps to Ronaldo to Novak Djokovic, all have mental preparation habits that they use before competition. And in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 habits that they use to mentally prepare for a big game. And the last one is actually one of the most powerful mental performance tools in sports, yet most athletes never use it. All right, so let's get right into it. The first thing I want you to do leading up to a game is breath work. Because whether you realize it or not, you're probably going to feel nervous. You're probably going to feel anxious. And before I will go any further, I want you to understand something. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Of course you're going to be nervous. You care about the game. You care about performing well. You care about the outcome. That's normal. All right, because I used to get nervous and anxious before every single game, and I used to think something was wrong with me. All right, in fact, some of the greatest athletes in the world still get nervous before a competition. Josh Allen throws up in a trash can before every single game, and then he'll give you 5 touchdowns and 400 yards. All right, the difference is they know how to control these nerves instead of letting these nerves control them. Because here's what most athletes do. They start feeling nervous, then they start getting nervous about being nervous. They think, why am I feeling like this? I shouldn't be nervous. What's wrong with me? And now they've created a second problem. Because instead of accepting the feeling, they're fighting it. And the truth is, nervousness isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's your body preparing for competition. Your heart rate increases. Your body becomes more alert. Your senses become sharper. All right, your body goes into fight or flight, essentially. And the problem isn't the nerves. The problem is when the nerves become so overwhelming that you lose control of your thoughts. And that's where breath work comes in. Because when you're anxious, your breathing naturally becomes shorter and faster. And when your breathing becomes shorter and faster, your body gets the message that something is wrong, like fight or flight. So your mind starts racing even more. Breath work does the opposite. It tells your mind and body that you're safe. It tells your nervous system that everything is okay. And when your mind starts to calm down, your body will follow, because your body will always follow your mind. And that's why athletes like LeBron James uses breath work before every single game. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you ever watched him sitting on the bench before tip-off, you'll always see him taking those slow, intentional breaths, doing breath work. I'm sure you guys seen the clip. And he's not doing this by accident. He's preparing his mind the same way he's preparing his body. And Novak Djokovic also does the same thing, not just before matches, but during them too. Like if you've ever watched Djokovic between points or in between sets, you'll often see him sit down and take a step back and focus on his breathing. Because he understands that when the emotions start running high and pressure starts building, the fastest way to regain control is to regain control of your breathing. All right? And these athletes aren't necessarily trying to get rid of pressure. They're just trying to stay in control of themselves when the pressure shows up. And one of the simplest breathing techniques you can use is actually called box breathing. It's used by a lot of athletes. It's also taught in the military. And it's also one of the most effective ways to stay calm or get your nervous system to calm down quickly. And here's how it works. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do the exercise with me, actually. I'm going to do it with you guys, all right? So I want you to inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and you just do this over and over and over again. It represents a box, hence why it's called box breathing. You do for 4 seconds each way around, all right? And you're gonna do this 5 or 20 times, however long it takes you till you get relaxed, all right? Just do it until you become relaxed, because you will. Because when your breathing slows down, your thoughts will slow down too. You'll feel more present, more composed, and more importantly, in control of yourself. And sometimes that's all you need to perform the way you're capable of performing. Do this every single time you start to get nervous or anxious leading up to your game, all right? Just keep doing this every single time. Now, for the second habit, self-talk. In my opinion, this is one of the most overlooked parts of mental preparation. Because whether you realize it or not, you're talking to yourself all day long, especially before competition. You start thinking things like, what if I don't play well? What if I make a mistake? What if I let down my team? What if I embarrass myself? And the problem is, your brain is always listening. The conversation happening in your head eventually becomes the performance you bring out onto the field. All right? And I learned this lesson the hard way. Little story time. All right? I remember one season, I worked my ass off all off season to earn a starting spot. I trained constantly. I did everything my coaches asked. All right? And eventually I got exactly what I wanted. I got the starting job. All right? When I wasn't even supposed to have it, because everybody else was better than me. But then game day came, and instead of being excited, I was sitting in my locker room completely in my own head. I kept asking myself, am I good enough to be here? Do I even belong here? Do I actually deserve this spot? And the crazy part is I did deserve it. I earned it. Nothing had changed. I was I was the same athlete that earned the starting spot. But the more I listened to those thoughts, the more negative I felt. And the more negative I felt, the more I started believing in them. And the more I believed them, the worse I played. Because being leads to doing and doing leads to results. All right, and by the time I stepped onto the field, I wasn't playing like the athlete who earned the spot. I was playing like someone who was trying to prove they deserved it. I looked hesitant. I looked unsure. Honestly, I looked like I seen a ghost. All right, and my coach could see it too. I remember him looking at me before the game, and he knew something was off. I was pale. I was quiet. It looked like I said, it looked like I seen a ghost. He was trying to get through to me, but at that point, it was already too late. I spent the last hour already convincing myself that I wasn't the athlete I actually was. And looking back, I actually realized something. If you let other people talk to you the way you talk to yourself, would you even keep them in your life? Probably not. So why do we accept it from ourselves? Why do we let ourselves constantly say things we never allow another person to say to us? Because eventually those words become beliefs, and those beliefs becomes our performance. What you think affects how you feel affects how you perform, and how you perform affects your results. All right, being leads to doing, and doing leads to results. That's why self-talk matters so much. All right, that's where it starts. Because if you're constantly telling yourself you're not ready, you don't belong, or you're going to mess up, damn, that car is loud as hell. I don't know if you guys can hear that. You're naturally going to feel anxious, hesitant, and unsure of yourself. And if you feel anxious, hesitant, and unsure of yourself, that's usually how you're going to play. And the same way this works negatively is the exact same way it works positively. Because if you start feeding yourself empowering thoughts instead of limiting ones, you're naturally going to start feeling more confident, more capable, more prepared. And when you feel that way, you're going to trust yourself more. You're going to play more freely. You're going to stop overthinking so much. And at the end of the day, you're probably just going to play better. So how do you actually fix it? All right, the first step to any transformation in life is awareness. You cannot change what you're not aware of. And most athletes aren't even conscious of the conversation happening inside their head. So start paying attention. Start catching yourself. Every time you notice yourself thinking, what if I don't play well? Flip it. What if you do play well? If your mind wants to play out a negative scenario, play out a positive one too. If your mind says, what if I lose? And you start playing that scenario out. Oh, if I lose, then my coach is going to bench me. I'm not going to get any more playing time. My girl's not going to love me anymore. Whatever it is. You need to flip it to, what if I win? If I win, then I get more playing time. I'll get more clout on Instagram. My girl's going to love me. Oh, man, it's going to be great. All right, because right now you're already telling yourself stories. The question is whether these stories are helping you or is it hurting you? And every time you consciously redirect your thoughts, you're giving yourself momentum to a different version of yourself. You're strengthening a different belief. You're reinforcing a different identity. All right, think of it like a scoreboard. Every time a negative thought you entertain, or every negative thought you entertain gets a point. Every positive thought you consciously choose gets a point too. And whichever side you keep scoring for eventually gains momentum. Now, does that mean you'll never have negative thoughts again? Of course not. You can't control your first thought, but you can always control your second one. All right, and that's where your power is. In fact, if you watch some of the greatest athletes in the world, you'll see them doing this all the time, in real time. There's a clip of Ronaldo before a free kick, I'm sure you've seen it, where he's talking to himself. He's telling himself, like, you can do it, you can get over the wall, you can score, cross the barrier, whatever he's saying. And what's interesting is Ronaldo isn't waiting until he feels confident to start talking that way. He's using his self-talk to create confidence. All right? He's intentionally feeding his mind the thoughts that are going to help him perform because he understands something that most athletes don't. Your mind is always listening. And the thoughts you repeatedly feed yourself eventually become the beliefs you carry into competition because your mind can be your greatest asset or it can be your greatest liability. The choice is yours. Because the athletes who perform at the highest level aren't necessarily the ones who never experience doubt. They're the ones who don't let doubt have the final word. So start becoming conscious of every single day or every single thought and oh my God, I can't talk. So start becoming conscious every single day and start flipping those thoughts. All right, now moving on to the final habit. All right, for the final habit, visualization. In my opinion, like I said earlier, visualization is one of the most powerful mental performance tools that athletes have access to. And ironically, it's also one of the most underutilized because most athletes spend hours training their body, but very few spend time training their mind. A lot of athletes have heard of that visualization, but very few actually use it consistently, which is a shame because some of the greatest athletes have been using it for decades. A lot of athletes hear the word visualization and immediately think it's some kind of motivational exercise. It's not. Visualization is mental rehearsal. Think about it like this. Damn, it's kind of hot out here, kind of dry, but most athletes wait until game day to experience pressure. The first time they experience adversity is when adversity actually happens. The first time they experience a big moment is when they're standing in it. The first time they experience making a mistake is when after they've already made it. Elite athletes take a different approach. They mentally rehearse these situations before they ever even happen. And one of the most famous examples of this is Michael Phelps. Because before the 2008 Olympics, his coach had him visualize every possible scenario of the race. Not things just going right, but things going wrong too. He visualized getting a great start. He visualized falling behind. He visualized adversity. He even visualized getting water in his goggles. All right, keep in mind for that later. Over and over and over again. And every single day, Phelps would mentally rehearse this race before it ever even happened. All right, then one day during the Olympics, something went wrong. Water started filling his goggles. And eventually he couldn't see anything. Most athletes would have panicked. Most athletes would have lost focus. Most athletes would have fallen apart. But Phelps didn't. Oh my God, my throat's getting dry. I need some water, low key. Boom. But because before, yeah, I need some water. Hold on. All right, we're back. Got some water. Let's get right back into it. Now, because before that race ever happened, he had already visualized that exact scenario, like I told you earlier. So by the time it actually happened, his mind and body already knew what to do. Even though it was his first time physically experiencing it, it wasn't the first time he had experienced it mentally. He had already seen or been there hundreds of times. He already trained himself to stay calm. He had already trained himself to respond instead of panic. And he ended up winning gold anyways, which is crazy. And at the end of the race, he credited his gold medal to visualizing that exact moment before the race. That's the power of visualization. You can look this up. He still talks about it to this day all the time. All right, it's one of my favorite examples of visualization. So now getting into why visualization works in the first place. It's because it allows your mind to experience the moment before the moment ever even arrives. It allows your mind and body to prepare for situations before they ever even happen. And when game day finally comes, you're not stepping into something completely unfamiliar. You're stepping into something you've already experienced. So how do you actually use visualization? I know you're probably wondering. Now, I could probably make an entire video just on visualization alone because there's a lot more that goes into it than what I'm about to cover. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it very simple and give you a basic framework you can start using right away. All right? And the reason visualization works in the first place is because it gives you access to your subconscious mind. And like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into this in this video, but your subconscious mind is the mind that's largely in control when you're competing under pressure. And because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not, nor does it have a conceptualization of time, we can use this to our advantage, which is why it works. All right? That's why athletes are able to mentally rehearse situations before they ever even happen. That's why Michael Phelps was able to stay calm when water filled his goggles. All right? Because he trained it that way. His mind and body already experienced that situation hundreds of times before it ever even happened. So by the time it actually happened, his mind and body already knew what to do. And that's exactly how I want you to use visualization. Every morning or every night leading up to a game, spend a few minutes mentally rehearsing situations you might experience during competition. Maybe it's a high pressure moment. Maybe it's bouncing back after a mistake. Maybe it's a game-winning shot. Maybe it's making a play when the game is on the line. Whatever it is, just do it, all right? Train your mind for the moment before the moment ever even arrives. And the first step is getting yourself into a relaxed meditative state. Because if you try to visualize while your mind is racing, it's like trying to walk through a door that's closed. You have to slow down first. Take a few deep breaths, relax your body, get present. All right, use that box breathing method I taught you. Then once you're in that relaxed state, move on to step 2. Visualize a specific scene, not an entire game, not an entire highlight reel, just one moment, one situation, or just one scene. All right, keep it simple. Maybe it's responding calmly after a mistake. Maybe it's making a big play. Maybe it's staying composed when the pressure starts building. Like I said, whatever it is, make it as detailed as possible as well. See what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel. All right, implement your 5 senses as much as you can because the more real it feels, the more effective the rehearsal becomes. And most importantly, add emotion. And if you're doing this right, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel the confidence, feel the composure, feel the trust, feel the pride, because emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. Without emotion, the scene isn't going to stick. Then once you've built that scene, replay it over and over and over again for the last step, like a TikTok on repeat, all right, just a few seconds long. And you're just gonna keep doing this until you get tired. Enough for your mind and body to start becoming familiar with that experience. All right, and when you're done with that, just go about your day. All right? Because at that point, the work has already been done. You've already started preparing your mind for the moment before the moment ever even arrives. So if you're serious about performing your best when the lights come on, these are the 3 habits I want you to start leading up to your next game. All right? Just to break it down. First, use breath work. Anytime you notice yourself getting nervous, anxious, or tense, take a step back and use the box breathing method we talked about earlier. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate pressure. The goal is to make sure pressure doesn't control you. Second, pay attention to your self-talk. Every time you catch yourself thinking negatively, flip it. All right, if your mind wants to focus on that or what could go wrong, start focusing on what could go right. Because your brain is always listening. And the thoughts you repeatedly feed yourself eventually becomes the beliefs you carry into competition. Now, lastly, what we just talked about, visualize. Spend a few minutes every day mentally rehearsing the moments you might experience in competition. Train your mind for the moment arrives. Because when your game day finally gets here, you don't want it to feel like you've done it for the first time, like it's your first time there. You want it to feel familiar. All right? And if you do these three things consistently leading up to a game, you'll feel calmer, you'll feel more composed, you'll trust yourself more. And more importantly, you'll stop letting your mind get in the way of the athlete you already are. Because at the end of the day, mental preparation isn't about becoming a different athlete. It's about giving the athlete that's already inside of you the opportunity to show up when it matters most. All right? So that's it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.